Self-driving technology has made huge progress in passenger vehicles, in warehouses, even in farming equipment. But when it comes to long-haul transport trucks, the dream of fully autonomous, if I said that word right, can't wait for you to say that word, self-driving. We'll just call it self-driving.
Is my shirt too distracting for you?
Your shirt is awesome. Please, can
Okay.
you sit back a little bit, though?
I
Sit back.
got
There we
there
go.
we
There we
go.
go.
You got the
Okay.
whole video on this thing. Yeah.
Oh, my good Lord.
Talk about
Uh,
distracting, eh? Yeah.
the dream of self-driving freight replacing human drivers, in my opinion, is far less realistic than many technology companies want us to believe. We've got a bunch of reasons, and MPG and I are going to hammer this out and debate whether this thing is reasonable or not. Driving a transport truck is not the same as driving a car in perfect weather on a mapped highway in the middle of a desert. Okay, truck drivers deal with construction zones, snowstorms, black ice, aggressive driving, road closures, detours, blowing tires. The list just goes on and on and on. Humans adapt instantly. Computers struggle when situations fall outside of their normal programming. We run into that with our phones. Twice a week I've got to shut my phone off and reboot it. Right? It stops working, and it's that old trick: unplug it, plug it back in, and it'll work. And damn it, it works. Right? We're going to do that with transport trucks. Self-driving trucks might perform well on a clear interstate highway, but trucking rarely happens in perfect conditions. One unexpected event can create absolute chaos. A driver can make judgment calls based on instinct and experience. Artificial intelligence still cannot replicate that level of decision making. We see it every day. AI is incredible. I love it. It's a lot of fun. I, I'm hoping that this shirt that MPG is wearing is AI and it's not real, because the store that you bought that from should be out of business. That's all I
Uh,
need to say.
I was trying to hold back a couple laughs myself. I'm glad you're able to get that last remark out there because I'm sitting here thinking, here's OJ again blaming the technology. It's not working. Got to charge it. But meanwhile, he went to bed at 9 p.m. because he fell asleep on the couch and forgot to plug his phone in. Like,
10 to 9. I'm getting
I
out of the
got,
shower, bud. Life's
I
over.
got, I got too funny. But great remarks. You're absolutely right. And I would say with all of that, weather is a massive problem for this. And autonomous systems rely heavily on cameras, radar, sensors. We're gonna go through snow, heavy rain, fog, dirt, salt. Um, we're just ice can block, they can confuse those systems. We're just gonna have these things appear, and unfortunately, it's probably gonna take some time to learn how to work through that with this technology. We're obviously moving forward this way, but trucking operations in every climate, it has to work. And for us specifically, we got Canadian blizzards, mountain passes, torrential rain. We have high winds. We have whiteout conditions. So even experienced human drivers struggle in extreme weather, and expecting a computer to safely handle an 80,000 pound truck in those conditions is a major gamble. And in places like Canada, where we are, winter alone creates conditions that are difficult enough for seasoned professionals.
It's one thing to run these things across the I-80 in northern Nevada, across the desert. There's nothing out there. It's some rolling hills. There's a couple light turns. That's it. But January, February, March on the Coquihalla in British Columbia, you want a computer. Yeah, I'll use the word Coquihalla because I know you're
Thank you.
struggling.
Yeah, you got me there.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome. Yeah. I was going to ask you what the
Good
most
day.
famous mountain pass in British Columbia is, but I didn't want to stress you out. So, but in all
Yeah.
seriousness, do we really want a computer to regulate coming down the Coquihalla Mountain in a March whiteout? Um, I don't fully understand what they're even thinking. Who's going to put the chains on to climb the Coquihalla, to put the chains on at the station just before you come down these mountain passes? This is the part where when I read about the self-driving trucks, I'm like, okay, but we're leaving major parts out. It's great to say, yeah, from Florida to Texas, well, we can do it in the middle of July, it's no problem. But is this going to work in the real world, and does it work in Canada? And with us being based in Canada, we certainly concentrate on Canadian trucking issues. And I don't know if this stuff's going to ever work up here in the cold climates. Look at what the DEF systems do up here. They work a hell of a lot better down in Florida and Texas. Come January, February, the DEF systems, they just shut down because they freeze up. It's minus 25 and the wind's blowing. And Alberta, it's minus 52 on a good day in February. I just don't see how that's just going to work. But you know what? I struggle with my iPhone, so maybe they know more than I do.
Even the
Trucking,
batteries, right? Like the batteries too. That's one thing that with our trucks that are built in Texas, we've noticed as well too. So we've had to make some adjustments on that end, and that's a real life problem that we have to add to that.
look at what we went through with our fleet this past winter with the batteries.
Mm.
They
Yeah,
were just they were freezing and exploding. How many
yeah,
batteries were replaced? Not 10, not 15, probably 50 batteries, maybe
yeah.
100 were actually replaced. And that was just because we had a really cold, rough winter. So now, if these are self-driving trucks and these batteries are freezing and exploding, now what do we do? So these are the things that I question seriously, and I don't understand where we're headed if we can't keep batteries in the winter of 2026 alive and working well.
Exactly.
How are we doing this?
Yeah,
The other thing
yeah,
that I think we need to focus on too is trucking requires more than just driving. Most people think truck drivers are just steering wheel holders. In reality, drivers also handle freight inspections, load securement, customer communication, backing into tight docks, paperwork, mechanical checks, fuel management, route planning, border crossings, emergency problem solving. Emergency problem solving is a tire blows out. The car in front of you spins sideways. Now, how's this computer going to react to this? Self-driving truck cannot walk around a trailer checking tires and straps, cannot negotiate with a receiver for late delivery. It cannot throw chains on in the mountains, which I mentioned just a few minutes ago. And the trucking industry depends heavily on human flexibility. Things happen. How are we going to adapt to, hey, I'm running an hour late, Matt? You deal with this all the time.
yep,
You're going to
yep.
call the
And
computer and say, hey, where are you?
I'm gonna call you. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Where's my sweet OJ? Where is he? Here's some mitts. Here's a hat. Come out here. Yeah.
And as you
Go
mentioned, Matt,
help me. Yeah.
I know you're going to get into it. There's a
Yeah.
liability problem here that
Yeah.
again, and I'll let you take that because you're the smartest of the
Yeah.
team here,
And yeah. You're the best looking one too. I don't know. Yeah.
especially in that shirt, brother.
I got it.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Thank you.
As they say on Love Island, your DMs are going to fill up like crazy.
Here we go. Absolutely. I need two accounts now. I need a burner account too, just to keep up with it all. Yeah.
Only in your
Like,
world, brother.
but, yeah, yeah. One can dream. So yeah, like you said, the liability it's gonna be a huge problem. There's no way around it. Is a self-driving truck causes a fatal accident, who's responsible, right? I think that's a big one that comes to mind first and foremost. Is it going to be the trucking company that's responsible? Is it going to be the software developer that's responsible? The truck manufacturer? The fleet, the owner? We see so many things right now, especially when I was on my brokerage side as well. I'm seeing things today even where, is it the person who, like the shipper who provided the product? Is it the carrier who took the product? Or was it the broker that, brokered the loadout, right? Like there's so many different avenues that can happen. This is a great example with self-driving trucks as well that compares to our potential everyday life right now as well. And the legal nightmare alone just slows adaptation to this, right? So, insurance companies already charge enormous premiums for trucking fleets. I feel like everyone knows that, especially owner operators as well. And autonomous trucks can make liability cases even more expensive and complex. And obviously, that's going to be a case by case basis, right? And one major accident involving autonomous technology can create massive public backlash and billions, if not potentially trillions over time, in lawsuits.
And you touched on it, Matt. There was just that ruling not 2 weeks ago in the U.S. that brokers will now be held liable if
Yep.
they broker out a load to ABC Trucking Company, and ABC Trucking Company is involved in a major collision, especially if it involves a fatality, that the brokerage can be held liable. So if we're now making brokers liable with drivers behind the wheel, where do we go if it's a computer driving the truck? As you said, where does it end? And this lawsuit this decision a few weeks ago is a major point of these are the things that also need to be worked out before we can do this in a widespread faction where drivers, I get a couple of drivers just this week called me and said, hey, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think we're going to lose our jobs down the road? These are the things behind the scenes that need to get worked out. It's great to post all this stuff on social media and say, oh, look at this truck, but have we got all this stuff in the background worked out? It doesn't look like we do because we just had this ruling recently about the brokerage end of the trucking industry, which, as you know, with your background in brokering, is a much bigger piece of the trucking industry that people don't even realize how large brokering is. Brokering is involved pretty much in just about every load in today's trucking world,
Yep.
right?
Exactly.
It's as
Yep.
big as the truck drivers. We probably have more brokers than we have truck drivers. The other biggest,
Exactly.
yeah, behind the scenes, there's 10 guys
Yep.
for every one driver, right? The other thing, customers don't fully trust technology. We've got people who still don't want to use the bank apps because they don't trust the technology, but we're going to trust it with an 80,000 pound vehicle. People may tolerate self-driving vehicles and passenger cars, but public trust changes when a fully loaded semi-truck is traveling beside them on the highway. An 80,000 pound truck is not a smartphone app. One software failure can become an absolute catastrophe. Many drivers already feel nervous around inexperienced drivers. Imagine the reaction when people learn there's no one in the cab at all and it's a computer in Dallas, Texas driving this truck. Public trust matters more than tech companies want to admit. It's just that
Yep.
simple. Yep.
Yep. And now let's go. So like we do a lot of local work, right? We do a lot of regional stuff as well too. We both traveled. We've been in Quebec. We understand some places are tighter than others, and you got to use extra caution for that. Especially during the winter months. And you think about rural roads and cities. They're a nightmare at times, right? And autonomous trucks perform best on simple highway routes, but freight doesn't magically teleport from the highway to warehouses, right? So deliveries are going to often involve tight city streets. We're going to involve rural roads, busy docks, industrial yards, unmarked job sites, and temporary construction areas. And we all know whether it's Toronto or Montreal, that never ends. So that's going to be a big one. And these environments, excuse me, sorry, these environments just constantly change and require precision and patience and communication. And a human driver can improvise, but machines struggle in chaotic environments.
We've touched on a couple episodes. I think it was the 20 things drivers do that drive us crazy. One of those things that you brought up was blindly following the GPS. And I actually stood up and said, please continue following the GPS because I love seeing the videos on social media where a car is, driving down the railroad tracks. We're going to take an 80,000 pound truck with no driver in it. And he's going to follow the GPS. And soon we're going to be seeing videos. These videos are hilarious already when we see human controlled vehicles on, cow pastures and on snowmobile trails in Sault Ste. Marie. Now we're going to have computers doing it. They're going to read the GPS and go, no, 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 I can go down this street. They're going to be heading along the GO train tracks all the way to Montreal.
Yep.
These are other problems that I just don't see. The other thing is the cost, and trucking is ran on a very small, tight profit margin as it is. The expenses just go up year after year. You just have to look at the price of trucks. The 2027s coming out are up again. Everything from repairs to parts to the vehicle costs are going up every single year. The enormous amount of money it's going to cost for self-driving trucks, expensive sensors, the constant software updates, advanced mapping, as in don't drive down the railroad tracks, and the specialized maintenance. And I can't even touch on it because I'm not even close to have enough awareness or tech savvy enough to understand the maintenance that would be required for these softwares. That's completely out of my world, but it's got to be immense. The other thing that is huge is the cybersecurity systems, and this is a real danger. We protect our bank apps from cyber attacks. Imagine somebody getting control of the data ports for self-driving trucks. That could just be an absolute unbelievable problem that I don't even know if you can fix. So that's another huge thing. And of course, for all these self-driving trucks, you've got to have remote maintenance and remote monitoring. It just has to be there. Someone has to be monitoring these trucks as to where they are. The cost of those 4 or 5, it comes up to 6 different things, right? Matt, the cost of this is enormous. Can trucking companies even afford to pick up? Sure, they're going to save on salaries. Absolutely. But are those salary savings, are they going to compensate for the maintenance, the monitoring, the cyber attack securities, and all this stuff? What's going to be actually more cost effective? And small companies just simply aren't going to be able to take on this cost. Also, the cost of these trucks are much more than a regular truck. So small companies, there's no way they're going to be able to touch this. And then your super companies in North America, they're going to have to look at the numbers and say, you know what, this is all wonderful and everything we can save on the salaries of the drivers, but in the end, are we really ahead? I don't know. And that's another reason it brings me to my doubts that this just isn't going to work because there's not enough profit margin in the business to make this viable.
Yeah. And what they'll say is I can't wait for them to like explain, why this is going to benefit us moving forward. And I just picture it like, the brand new shiny iPhone that comes out and they're gonna be like, hey, just buy a case, plug it in, it'll be good. You just pay a subscription every month, it'll run itself, no big deal. And, little do we know, like in one podcast here, we've been able to talk about all these points. And I agree with you entirely. So,
And we're two
and
dumb guys. We don't know anything about this world, and it just doesn't make sense.
yeah.
So I just
Yeah.
I struggle wrapping my head around this whole
Yeah, we're two handsome, individual, unintellectual
thing.
guys.
Well, we got one with
Yeah,
great hair and a terrible shirt. So
yeah,
that I can
yeah,
speak to. If you're
yeah,
listening on Spotify or one of the other leading podcast carriers, you need to go over to our social media on Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and take a look at the shirt that MPG is wearing because it's well worth the clicks. Let me
yeah.
tell you.
You,
Yeah.
you'll get to see my shirt, and you'll get to see his kind eyes. So it'll be a 2-for-1 special.
Thank you. Aw, that's so sweet.
You're
Can
welcome.
you
That's
move
my only
on with this
compliment.
podcast,
I'll move
please?
on. I'll move on. I'll move on. Absolutely.
You make me
So
blush.
I can see it. Yeah, cybersecurity risks are they're terrifying, right? I think, just through our everyday life, we've seen many different events, take place across the world, and unfortunately, it's a reality that can shut down at any moment. And I don't know if you remember, like I just remember being a kid in early 2000s, and we had that blackout for I think almost a week. This is way before we had all this technology and phones. I can't imagine how that would affect now. But you think about that, like modern trucks already contain, advanced electronics, right? And fully autonomous trucks would become rolling computers at this point, and this creates serious risks, right? So we're going to look at hacking, system failures, GPS spoofing, software glitches, communication outages, and as we all know, a hacked laptop is annoying. A hacked transport truck could become deadly. So something to think about seriously. And the more connected trucks become, the greater the risk.
Well, and the bottom line is drivers are still better in emergencies. When something goes wrong, experienced truck drivers rely on the instinct and, as we said before, the experience. Drivers know how to avoid the jackknife, control the skids, react to a tire blowout, protect four-wheelers from accidents. We teach truck drivers all the time. You have to be driving that four-wheeler in front of you for them. You've got to look ahead and save them as much as are trying to save themselves. Computers can't do this. And read dangerous traffic patterns by looking ahead, seeing what's up ahead of you and reacting in real time. Technology still struggles with split-second human judgment during emergencies. Can a computer do this?
Yep.
I guess time will tell.
Yep. And even with all this said, the industry still needs drivers, right? Without a doubt. Even if autonomous systems improve, the industry still needs humans for supervision, right? And local delivery work, problem solving, and just difficult driving situations, as you touched on. So the future, it's more likely to involve driver assist technology instead of fully driverless trucking, and those features can consist of automatic braking, adaptive cruise control, lane assistance, collision avoidance, and it'll continue growing because they help drivers rather than replace them.
Absolutely. Some of the advances in technology in the trucks for the old school drivers, it drives them crazy. They don't like the lane assist, and when you're heading over and you're kind of moving towards the center line, it'll beep or it'll shake and it'll kind of force you back. But a lot of those things are very helpful, especially for inexperienced drivers or new drivers. Those technologies can be very, very useful, but that is more in the line of what you just said, driver assist, not fully self-driving. I understand and I agree with some of the driving assist. Hey, if we've got technology to make that car safer and that truck safer, absolutely. Let's utilize it. Let's train the drivers on it. Let's take advantage of it. But that's a long leap from driver assist and lane control and anti-skid technology sensors to, okay, we're going to drive this truck down the road all by itself, and it's going to deliver to 14 stores. It's, that's
Yeah.
where the struggle is in mind. Self-driving transport trucks sound really, really impressive. They sound really cool. There was a cartoon, Matt, well before you were even thought of, called The Jetsons. And it was, a look down in look it up on the YouTube.
I know what it is. I can see the little cartoons, the zooming little UFO thing going.
Yeah, Matt, I'm very impressed with you.
Thank you. Yeah.
You have way too much spare time on your life.
I got
But we're a long way from the Jetsons being a reality. But the real trucking world is still messy. It's unpredictable. It's extremely dangerous, and it constantly changes. Technology can assist, but replacing them entirely is a much harder challenge than many companies have expected. At the end of the day, freight transportation depends on huge human judgment. It also relies on the experience and qualities that software can still not duplicate. What's the little line underneath the when you use AI? Please check. AI can make mistakes. It's on everything you do in AI. Right at the very bottom in the fine print. Even the AI is saying, hey, yeah, we're pretty smart, but we make mistakes. A mistake when you're writing an email, well, that's one thing. A mistake when you're heading down with 80,000 pounds of produce, that's going to be a problem. For the foreseeable future, the trucking industry will need skilled drivers behind the wheel. Boys, ladies, your jobs are safe for now. Stop worrying about it. You're going to be okay.
Absolutely. And I've seen OJ's emails, by the way, and there's no AI that can help him. Okay.
Hey,
I swear this guy's using a typewriter somehow. Yeah.
For a guy with watermelons on his purple shirt, you really shouldn't be throwing. What's that saying? Don't throw stones in glass houses, buddy. Come on. You look like you just came out of a Hawaiian. What's that dance thing they do where you bend backwards? And you got to go under the bar.
No. No. Yeah.
The bar
limbo.
goes lower.
Limbo.
You look like you just lost a limbo contest on a Friday night in Hawaii. Okay, that's what you look like.
It's 2026. I still got a participation award. We're good.
Matt, you got your ribbon. You're all good. Any final thoughts here, Matt? Because I'm struggling really looking at this shirt any longer.
You know what? Let's save you the torture here, and let's wrap it up. Yeah.
MPG, you know what this is? You're supposed to say, what is it?
Oh, what is this? Is it a knock-knock joke or what? I don't.
You ruined the tagline. You ruined your own tagline. Matt, this is Talking Truck.